Why is Bitcoin still hovering around 30K? The Nasdaq and the S&P 500 is 5% from its all-time high. The core CPI is below 5%, which is the lowest reading since 2021. The world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, filed for a Bitcoin ETF amongst others. And XRP partially won the case against the SEC. And still, Bitcoin hovers around 30K. Those are not my words. This was from a tweet of Miles Deutscher. He's also got a YouTube channel, very good content. I want to answer this. Why is Bitcoin still hovering around 30K? Who's actually selling here? Because retail seems to be pretty excited, right? Look at this chart. It's a chart taken from the recent Glassnode newsletter. So Glassnode provides a weekly newsletter to be found at insights.glassnode.com. And in this chart, we see something very interesting. We see across different cohorts, as in the size of the Bitcoin wallets, as in how much Bitcoin is in a wallet. When we look at those cohorts, so the small ones here with less than 1 Bitcoin at the bottom, the large wallets with more than 10,000 Bitcoin at the top, we can see based on this color coding, what are different participants doing. And we can see that since we spiked up on the 23rd of June 2023 and Bitcoin rather goes sideways, that it's the very, very large wallets, the whales above 10K that are selling. There seems to be a battle between the mega whales and the not that big whales. And we see that retail is slightly accumulating, right? So blue means buying, red means selling. Why is the price still so depressed in Bitcoin? It's because the mega large rich wallets, they are distributing. Now we can't say for certain why they are selling, but we can look at further details of those wallets. We can, for example, look at where are they selling, where are they sending their Bitcoin to. And for that, we've got this chart here. Most of the Bitcoin that's being sold by the whales, so that's the whales to exchange distribution ratio, a 30-day SMA. Most of the Bitcoin is being sent to Binance. Very little is being sent to Coinbase. Binance is becoming the central point of contact for those ultra-rich Bitcoin holders. That's interesting to a degree because the spot Bitcoin ETFs, they are mainly targeting Coinbase as the main marketplace to purchase and sell the Bitcoin once the ETF has been launched. It's also interesting because it suggests that most of the selling might not be within the US, since Binance's main business is outside of the US. It's very globally distributed. Now it's important to know that over time Bitcoin gets distributed among more and more wallets. And so the importance of those whale wallets decreases over time. This chart here shows how much Bitcoin is being held by wallets that have at least 1,000 Bitcoin in them. This is again a very long-term chart starting in 2010. And currently, roughly 46% of all of Bitcoin is being held by wallets that have more than 1,000 Bitcoin. Over time, this tends to go down. And so seeing a distribution phase like this by those very large wallets isn't that surprising. They come every now and then and they confirm this long-term trend, which in the end is probably a good thing, right? You want to have Bitcoin distributed among as many hands as possible. You want to have the ownership as decentralized as possible. Still, it is important to note that these flows to exchanges from the whale wallets is pretty historic. Again, from that same newsletter, the whale volume from and to exchanges. Since 2015, we have never seen that many Bitcoin in a single month moving to the exchanges. This is a very significant move, and it is probably the reason why Bitcoin couldn't rise above the 30K. Now, how much does this tell us regarding future price movements? Do we see massive crashes in the Bitcoin price when the whales send their Bitcoin to the exchange in order to sell them off? Or are those coins actually being scooped up by retail quickly enough? Here we've got a 30-day moving average of the whale to exchange inflow together with the price. And it's very hard to pinpoint what really happens to the price whenever these inflows happen. Look at this, we got really high inflows over here, but the price simply just continues to go down. A trend we had already seen in the past quite a bit, then another big inflow over here, and then we turned around in the price. So contrary to popular belief, there doesn't necessarily seem to be a very strong correlation between the inflows and the price development. So whenever you see these crypto news, right, whales are moving things to the exchanges, there's not necessarily reason to panic. The metric that I think is more reliable is the accumulation and the distribution score, simply looking at what are the balances of the wallets of different sizes doing. And the reason why this is important is because whales don't necessarily sell via exchanges. They very often also do OTC trading. So there's independent companies that have lower fees that make the deals away from the order books in order not to move the price too much. I think there's no real reason to panic. I think it would be worse if it's the retail that's continuing to sell, if it's the broad masses that don't like Bitcoin anymore. When very, very large investors that might currently be over allocated to Bitcoin take some chips off the table, I think that's fine. What really matters is that the long-term momentum of the broad adoption continues, and that's still healthy. We now finally reached more than 1 million wallets that hold at least one Bitcoin. This is a very steady growth. And with continued adoption, we will likely always see a recovery from any bear market. So the long-term game plan hasn't changed, simply just a dollar cost average into Bitcoin and only sell once there's real hype. Once everybody talks about Bitcoin, everybody tries to find the next Bitcoin, then it might make sense to take some chips off the table. Right now is not that time. Feel free to give this a like, and if you haven't joined our Telegram yet, feel free to search for Bitcoin Strategy channel within the Telegram app or click the link down below. Looking forward to chatting with you. Bye bye.